little bit of a breeze out there as well. And then I am tracking another gradual warming trend towards the first half of next week. What are we thinking? I like the cool down.
I'll take it.
Maybe it came like a day before.
If it was on Thanksgiving, right? So we could like wear some sweaters, maybe.
We do our Christmas card every year on Thanksgiving, my family, and they're like flannels. Ooh,
sweating in those things.
Just take it the next day and tell everyone you took it on Thanksgiving.
There you go.
We can't get dolled up 2 days in a row.
Yes, you
Josh.
can. Come on, you do it every day.
Thanksgiving. All right, Josh, thank you. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us this morning on Wink News.
Our next newscast is an hour away on CBS. Wink News will return on the CW tonight at 7:30.
This is Wink Tracks the Tropics, powered by the Weather Authority.
When the tropics are active and timing is everything, the Weather Authority is keeping you prepared.
The latest update did come in from the National Hurricane Center. Helene moving north-northeast. Winds have increased up to 90 miles per hour.
Keeping you informed.
It's now 170 miles northwest of us, and as we had mentioned, this is a major Cat 4 hurricane. This is going to have major landfall implications.
Southwest Florida has seen its fair share of storms in the past few years.
We are leaving immediately after this because it is not safe. You're starting to see some of these debris, sticks flying up and out, and it's one of the reasons why Sanibel is evacuated. It clearly is not safe out here.
But our slice of paradise has bounced back in ways we'd never expected.
It's tough.
We had each other, and that's a good thing.
I wouldn't have made it without Marianne. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
Wink News has been there with you every step of the way. That won't change.
Yes, we avoid the worst part of the storm, but the wind field's growing and the pressures are deepening. We're going to feel more of that influence on the back end with the surge.
From forecast cones to safety tips, the Weather Authority team has you covered. You're watching Wink Tracks the Tropics.
All right, welcome in and happy Tuesday morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of Wink Tracks the Tropics. I'm meteorologist Josh Green checking in, and can you smell that? That's turkey. Right around the corner, Thanksgiving in just 2 days. I'm going to break down everything you need to know when it comes to our local Thanksgiving forecast here in Southwest Florida. Even some of those travel plans. Are any parts of the country being impacted more than others today when it comes to those flights? That's not the only thing I can smell right around the corner. I can also smell the end of hurricane season. I've got the countdown for you. It is just around the corner at the conclusion of this month, and I really like the trends that we have seen since yesterday because there was a little bit of talk about there. I saw some chatter on social media, people trying to hype things up about very weak signals. And like I mentioned yesterday, we look for trends in signals, right? If we just see a signal pop up one day and then it's gone the next, that means that is nothing to be concerned of. And I do like what I see. So I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And luckily for us, we have a great panel joining us today. Meteorologist Oceana Hayden checking in. Good morning. How are you?
Great. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good. I'm happy, loving it. Great week. Lots of
Yes.
hustle and bustle out there. A great thing about this platform as well, it's interactive. Any questions, comments that you have, chime in. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what your favorite Thanksgiving dish is. We want to hear from you. We'd love to interact with you. And if you have any questions that pop up over the next 20 to 30 minutes, you let us know and we'll answer them for you. Without further ado, let's get right into it. You know what I love to start out with? That countdown clock. And boy, oh boy, is it getting smaller and smaller. 5 days. That is all that remains of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, which comes to a close at the end of this month. Good news, still nice and quiet across the Atlantic, Gulf, and Caribbean. Absolutely nothing new expected to develop over the next 7 days, and that does bring us through the end of the 2025 season. That's all according to the National Hurricane Center. But you know us at the Weather Authority. We are always looking ahead. I'm looking at computer models that bring us out to December 5th. So this is 10 days into the future. This particular model that I'm showing you is the European model. It's ensemble members. Remember, there's about 50 or so different individual runs of the European model that start with different solutions, right? They all kind of sample the atmosphere in their own specific, unique ways. It also predict what will be going on in the atmosphere in the future. This particular model, what it does, it spits out areas of low pressure that are going to develop over the next several days. And yesterday, if you remember, we were looking at this and we saw a few more areas of low pressure. A few more of the ensemble members were a little bit more gung-ho on the fact that we could see at least some sort of low pressure developing in the southern Caribbean that would try to pull off towards the north. Happy to report that, in fact, was not a trend, because look at this, the latest run of the European ensemble members showing nothing going on down there. Similar story with the new Google AI model, which a couple of days ago had a handful of its ensemble members showing an area of low pressure, not only developing in the southern Caribbean, but also trying to move north into or around the Gulf. Happy to report that today, look at that, that trend has also stopped. It's showing maybe a few of the ensemble members trying to spin up a low, but none of which pulling off towards the north. And again, that is expected. Things have been quiet for the past now about a month or so since we had Melissa. The pattern has switched. We are no longer kind of in that tropical season where conditions are favorable for development, conditions are unfavorable for development. Our friends at the Climate Prediction Center, their outlook that details the next 2 to 3 weeks in terms of any tropical hazards, that actually comes out this afternoon. Log in to Wink Tracks the Tropics tomorrow at 11 a.m. and I will show you that final look at our Climate Prediction Center outlook, which should bring us, I believe, through at least midway of December, maybe even a little bit further than that. I'm expecting them to keep their map nice and quiet, as it has been now for the past 20 to 25 days. Now, remember I mentioned that the atmosphere is unfavorable for tropical development. I want to show you a couple of reasons why that is. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to chime in on Facebook and YouTube as well. Wind shear, again, winds moving at different speeds and directions at different levels of the atmosphere, tears up any sort of tropical systems that try to develop, and there is just a handful of wind shear across the southwestern Atlantic, Gulf, and Caribbean, all the way throughout the even first half of next week. So again, that is another reason why the window has closed. Conditions are unfavorable. Also, sea surface temperatures is another reason why. Right now, you know, as a baseline, 80-degree temperatures. 80-degree water temperatures is what you need for tropical development. Again, typically, you know, in the season when things are more favorable. Even though you have warm water, it doesn't mean you get a tropical system that develops. The Caribbean could support one right now, but here's the thing. You know, I showed you those ensemble members of areas of low pressure trying to spin up. There's just none of them. All right, so there's nothing to take advantage of these warmer waters. And I'll actually show you, if you move further north into the Gulf, the waters actually become too cold for tropical development, below 80-degree waters, especially along our coastlines along the Gulf Coast. Even if you look in the middle of the Gulf there, you're looking at water temperatures that are still just below 80 degrees. So there's a lot of things that continue to work in our favor, which continues to, you know, assert my conclusion that we are finished for this season. Here is what we've had so far on tap compared to what the hurricane forecast called for from the partners at the NOAA agency there. They called for about 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. Yeah, we're on the very low end of that forecast, right? 13 named storms on the season, our average is 14. 5 hurricanes on the season, our average is 7. But yes, the one staggering fact is that such a large percentage of the hurricanes that developed this year went on to become major hurricanes, 3 of which becoming Category 5s, one of which, Melissa, being tied for the strongest on record to make landfall in the Atlantic Basin in western Jamaica. So that's kind of how the numbers stack up on the season. I'll bring in my panel as well. Oceana, you know, this weekend, I know you were busy, you're having fun, but did you see any of that chatter online?
I absolutely did. I
What
logged in.
What did you see? Because I just want to know, because I feel like some of our viewers out there might have seen something as well.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as I logged on to X one random day, I feel like it was Saturday or Sunday, there was a lot of chatter. I think the GFS had a major hurricane in the Gulf at one point for one of its crazy runs. You know, a lot of them refer to it as the happy hour run because the GFS has tendencies to kind of throw one big crazy thing out there for one model run and then completely backtrack on the following run. And that's pretty much what ended up happening. Like you said, we had some of those ensembles like Google AI showing it yesterday. They had quite a few, I think 20 something, 20 maybe?
There was a good bit, especially
there was a
like
good amount of ensembles for
like,
Google AI, which is something that I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Right.
And then, of course, we woke up this morning, nothing, at least not nearly as much as what we were as what they had said before. So, you know, social media was going absolutely berserk over this weekend specifically. So people were posting that model run, showing it on radar, future track for like the weekend of December 5th, this major hurricane in the Gulf, and that was just the GFS, and I was like, that just can't happen. That's the classic GFS happy hour run.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned the happy hour run. It's because it comes out at 5 p.m. Everyone, yeah, you know, so it's right on time.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, you make great points right there. You know, sometimes you just have to step back, right? Because a lot of these folks, they'll post these things on social media. They'll get your clicks because, yeah, it's pretty eye-opening, right? When I log on in the morning and I look at this stuff, I'm also noticing it. But sometimes you have to step back and say, what day is it today? Mm-hmm. It's November 20th or the 25th, right? That simply just doesn't happen this later on, right? You can even look back in time. All throughout the month of December, there's only been one landfalling tropical system in the United States. It was a tropical storm, for starters. It was 100 years ago, for starters. In 1925, it made landfall around Bonita Beach, but it just goes to show you can look historically, right?
Yeah.
Things don't just randomly happen, right? We saw major hurricanes this year. That's because you had ample conditions, ample fuel for those things to happen. But then you have to think, you know, the season comes to a close at some point, right? And, you know, you could even look at the drop-off in activity by the time you get to the month of November. I mean, there's barely anything left, right? Even the frequency at that point becomes very low. October, on the other hand, very active, right? August, September, October, that's the peak for sure. You move into November and things shut off pretty quickly, almost like a faucet. It's like our rainy versus our dry season here. So there's a lot of factors that you have to kind of just step back and look at besides, you know, individual model runs. And another thing is the trends, right? Because Oceana mentioned, you know, she looked this morning, there's really nothing there anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So the trends in this case have been our friend for sure. And, you know, even when we track other systems throughout the year, you know, we look for consistency between the models and also, you know, when they run and how often they're showing these similar setups. So, you know, the fact that over the past 2 days we've seen less and less of a signal of this just kind of goes to prove that, you know, the models were overanalyzing something at that point, and now they've kind of come back to earth and said, you know what, we're actually good. So I'm very happy they say.
Yes, me too.
So, all in all, when it comes to tropics, again, things are quiet. Things are going to be staying that way for the foreseeable future. The season comes to an end in 5 days. Let's just be thankful that things stayed on the quiet side for the United States this year. Hey, let's move on. It's time for our Wink Weather Watcher Spotlight. Now, this one is really interesting. All right, this came to us from Raymond this morning. You know, when I saw this come through, I said, what in the world do we have going on here? He was able to capture this amazing imagery of the sun. And if you look, you can see some flames coming off of it, right? What is that all about? This is called a coronal mass ejection. This is when you get large expulsions of plasma from the sun's corona. Now, Oceana and I saw this come through on the Weather Watchers page this morning. You know, what did you think when you saw this picture? I just had to feature it.
Well, when I first saw it and I didn't read the caption, I thought it was zoom in on a microscope of like a cell. And I was wondering if it was his cell, and I was like, what does this belong in Wink Weather Watchers? And then I read it, and he said it was a coronal mass ejection, and I was like, oh, that's the sun. So that was my first thing when I saw it. But then, of course, you know, it actually is a pretty neat picture he's got there.
It is.
Must be from his telescope. That's my guess.
I would think so,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you don't really have another way to do it. I mean, I like the location you have. The sun.
The sun. I mean, well, I mean, you look at this picture, you don't know where it is, right?
No.
Well, that's it. So normally, you know, we get amazing pictures of our local Southwest Florida skies. I love to show those, but today this one was just so unique. I had to give a shout out to Raymond for that one.
Yeah,
if you
I'm glad he caught that.
Oh, absolutely. And if you want to join our Weather Watchers, feel free, log on to our website or to our Facebook page, the Wink Weather Watchers Facebook page. It gives you all the information, the instructions on how you can join and get your pictures featured on air and here on Wink Tracks the Tropics. All right, I want to move on. Of course, big day in a couple of days, Thanksgiving coming up. I know a lot of folks are heading out to the airports, getting into the airways. Good news is here, RSW, Southwest Florida, beautiful. Good mix of sun and clouds, great flying weather. I don't see any issues whatsoever closer to home, so that's good news if you are flying out or perhaps you have friends and family that will be flying in. I'm looking across the country for you as well, specifically across the southeast. I do see a storm system that is moving across the southeast, including spots all the way from Alabama up through Georgia, portions of Tennessee, even the Western Carolinas could be impacted by this one, including the biggest travel hub in the world, Atlanta. So that's something to keep in mind. Minor to moderate impacts there, even up to the northeast. I'm seeing very minor weather travel issues. So all in all, not too bad as you're heading out there to the airports and you're traveling here and there. I kind of want to show you how this storm system is going to be shaping up big picture-wise over the next couple of days. Notice you get this storm system taking place right now in the southeast. That's what's causing some of those minor to moderate weather delays there. The good news is that storm system is not going to make it down here. All right, but what is causing it, the cold front, is going to make it down here. That's going to be on Thanksgiving. Notice we get that opportunity for a stray shower or two on Thursday. And here's the catch. Although the cold front moves through on Thursday, it's not going to be cold down here on Thanksgiving. It is going to be a little bit more on the cloudy side, but if you are looking forward to the cooler weather, it will be on the way by the time we get to Friday morning. How cool are we talking? Here's some of these Friday morning lows as you get out the door early on Friday. I'm looking at upper 40s for our inland and northern communities. I'm looking at low to mid 50s as you head further south. I'll bring back in Oceana here. You know, if only we could get this just like a day before, right? Wouldn't that be perfect?
I would absolutely adore waking up Thanksgiving and seeing that in
Oh.
the 50s and the 40s. I mean, Black Friday, that works too, because, you know, here in Southwest Florida, majority of our malls are outside, so it would be pretty nice, you know, you might want to layer up, actually, I will say, if you're heading out peak Black Friday hours, like 6, 7, 8 a.m., you know, you might want to layer up a little bit, but, I mean, I'm ready for this. It's been a long, has it been 2 weeks yet? Yeah, a little over 2 weeks.
Yeah, since the cold snap.
Of warmth. So I am ready for these cooler temperatures and to see our highs in the 70s again. I mean, please, I'm all for it.
No, absolutely. And you know, a couple weeks ago, that was a historic cold snap, right?
Yeah.
We broke a bunch of records. This one is more of a typical one, right?
Right.
It's not cold, but it's nice and cool. There's a chill in the air. You know, I've been saying on air this morning, you know, you get all those good smells that build up in the house and you wake up Friday morning and they're still there. This is a perfect opportunity to open up the windows and air things out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're gonna be nice and dry, humidity out the window too. I mean, I love to see that. I talk about it all the time, but getting rid of the humidities makes all the difference. I mean, we could have temperatures in the 60s, but as long as that humidity's low, it's gonna feel amazing out there. So I'm glad to see, and this is definitely one of the cold fronts that we would expect to see in the month of November. Like you said, that one we saw before, that was a peak winter type of cold front, and we're not in winter for another month. So that one was a little crazy, but this was definitely a little more on average for this time of year.
Yes, very welcoming, absolutely. We've got a few questions and comments in our chats on YouTube and Facebook. I do want to get to those real quick. 1400 is checking in. You know, what do you think was the largest impact for the lack of major storms this year? So, you know, that's a good question, right? The way you phrased it, the lack of major storms. Now, here's the catch. We actually had an above average amount of major storms. They were out there, but they didn't come here, right? They didn't come to the United States. They didn't come to Florida. Now, the reason for that is largely because of where the high pressure was set up in the Bermuda High. That was weaker and positioned further to the east, right? Away from the United States. So it kind of created a pathway for these stronger storms to more so stay out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The one that we had in the Caribbean, obviously Melissa, the reason why that one couldn't come up to the United States is because we had a giant cold front that, again, was pushing through, acting as a defender against the United States and against Florida. So for that reason, we didn't have the major storms impact us, but they were still out there. We had an above average amount. And Tim Kraut checking in, saying, good morning, team. Any thoughts on continuing the live after hurricane season, maybe doing a show once a week? I think we'll absolutely be checking in, and this is something that we're going to continue to do each and every hurricane season.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I love being able to interact with everyone, and of course, we want to keep you up to date because although we loved how quiet this season was for the United States, we know it might not be that way every year. So this is our way of kind of, you know, building our platform to let you know that, hey, we're here. So next season, you know, if you have questions or something comes up, we're here, right?
Yeah, I love the feature of answering your questions in real time. You don't need to email us and wait for us to respond. We've got you right here.
Absolutely. And Casper checking in. Good morning to you, Casper. He's talking about how some of those pages on social media aren't looking at the full picture.
Exactly.
They're not looking at all the atmospheric conditions that, you know, actually.
Looking for clicks.
Yeah, for sure. And Oceana, here's one for you to address real quick. Tim chiming back in, you know, what's all of the talk that he's seeing with the December system in the Gulf? I know we addressed that earlier, but do you want to just get back to it in case someone tuned in a little bit later?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one that everybody was kind of wondering about. That's the one that we saw some ensembles. It would be December 5th to the 7th is kind of when a lot of these models were like kind of insinuating that. But like we said, at this time in the season, it's very, very unlikely that we see a hurricane, even a hurricane in general. Like we said, December 100 years ago, in 1925, that was our last landfalling tropical system in the United States that happened to be in Bonita Springs, and that was just a tropical storm. I say just, we know tropical storms can be damaging, but it didn't even reach that hurricane strength. So the fact that some of these models were pushing for, well, I really think it was only the GFS that was pushing for a hurricane, and that says a lot. But the fact that some of these ensembles were kind of trying to spin up something stronger, it can't happen. It's not, we don't have the dynamics in the atmosphere at this time. We have cold fronts coming through. We showed you exactly what the water temperatures were like in the Gulf. I mean, things are really calming down because of how many fronts we've had this season and the strength of some of the fronts that we've had. I mean, it's really helping to suppress that tropical activity if it were to make its way into the Gulf.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So, Tim, that one was for you. We are good to go. Sometimes people just get a little bit ahead of themselves when it comes to those online posts. All right, let's bring it back to the graphics. I believe the next thing up is going to be that extended forecast, just so you can kind of put it all together here. Our Southwest Florida residents staying warm over the next couple of days. There's your Thanksgiving forecast on Thursday with morning lows in the mid-60s, afternoon highs near 80. Friday, Saturday morning starting off in the 50s, even seeing some upper 40s in some spots. Friday, afternoon highs only in the low 70s. It's also going to be breezy out there throughout this weekend, tracking a little bit of a warming trend Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And the forecast does get interesting by the middle of next week. The European and GFS models are kind of differing on another strong cold front moving in. So sometimes when you get that far down in the forecast, we kind of cut it down the middle. Wait to see the trends over the next few days, and definitely want to make sure you tune back in both on air and online as well, just to kind of see if that cold front next week does materialize like the European model wants it to. I wouldn't be opposed.
No, me neither.
All right, last but not least for today, Oceana, I'll let you take it away. We've got another edition of your Turkey Tidbits.
Yep, so if you need any fun conversation starters on Thursday with your family and you want to impress them with a science fact, here you go. Here's our turkey tidbits of this, or Tuesday turkey tidbits. Look at that.
Wow, triple T.
So one of which is pretty interesting. Birds fly lower when the pressure drops. So this is because low pressure makes the air less dense, which also means that birds really need dense air to flap their wings. It's harder and it requires a lot more energy when they fly through less dense air because there's less molecules to provide resistance. It's a really detailed process, but the coolest part is they conserve the energy and they know better and they fly closer to the ground when a low pressure system's there. So if there's a thunderstorm in the area, they're likely going to fly a little lower, which is pretty cool if you ever notice that.
So if it's summertime and I see the birds, you know, by my head, that means I should probably get inside.
Yeah, if the birds are flying quite low, you know the thunderstorm's on the way.
Good to know.
And then we've got another one. This one's about temperature changing the speed of sound, because sound actually travels faster in warm air since the molecules are moving faster in warm air. And this actually also has something to do if you're in a cold winter up north. Thunder actually travels a little slower. So in relation to where you are to the storm, you might take a little longer to hear the thunder because sound is going to travel a little slower in cool air and travel faster in warm air, and it all has to do with the density of the molecules. So they move a lot quicker when it's in the warm, and then they're kind of slow and loose in the cold air. And then the last one, something you might not know is lightning is not always cloud to ground. It's not always going to be that bolt that you see reach the ground. 80% actually of lightning stays inside the cloud or travels cloud to cloud. So those often, I love to see the cloud to cloud lightning, especially across like the Gulf. If you ever look out when you're on the beach and you see a storm far away, a lot of that is cloud to cloud lightning. Those often make for pretty good pictures too, just lighting up the sky.
And we don't like when they go to the ground too, because then it's like, it's dangerous outside.
It's very dangerous, yeah. I prefer 'em like that.
You know, I like the sound one because, you know, if it's cold outside and I can't hear someone, that might be my excuse next time. Be like, I'm sorry, the sound is moving slower because I just can't pick it up.
Yeah, that's your excuse. If you find yourself not paying attention, just blame the speed of sound.
Well, these are great. Make sure you bring them up at the Thanksgiving dinner table in a couple of days. I bet the family and friends will absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, that will do it from us here today for Wink Tracks the Tropics. We have a really special episode tomorrow. It'll be our last one of the season. As we close things out on a quiet note, we'll reflect on what we've seen, talk a little bit more about our holiday forecast, and check in on that drought, because tomorrow's going to mark nearly a month since we've seen any measurable rainfall across southwest Florida. So lots to get to tomorrow. Oceana, thank you so much for joining me today. We'll see you all back here tomorrow, same time, same place, at 11 a.m. for Wink Tracks the Tropics. Have a great Tuesday.
Bye.